Thank you for coming this evening to recognize Memorial Day this year. Since 1868, Americans across the country have observed Memorial Day. Originally, this observance was called Decoration Day and celebrated on May 30th, which is today. In 1971, Congress changed the official celebration of the date to the last Monday of May, effectively yesterday. Wellesley has continued to conduct its ceremonies on May 30th rather than on the Monday holiday. That's why we're here today. I'd like to call forward Rabbi Blake to offer the invocation. Rabbi Blake.
Uncover.
Thank you.
Uncover.
Almighty God, Father of all mankind, on this special occasion, we honor the heroic children of our country who rendered their full measure of devotion on all the far-flung battlefields of the world in defense of these United States. They fought fearlessly and courageously in storms of fire and blood so that we may enjoy the blessings of liberty, democracy, and freedom. We pray thee, gracious Father and merciful King, bestow your divine blessings upon these heroic veterans and upon their families, and may their devotion and loyalty be an inspiration to us all and to all our fellow Americans. Let this gathering in honor of Memorial Day stimulate us to be mindful of our responsibilities and duties as conscientious citizens of this great republic. We pray thee, merciful Father, sustain the leaders of the free world in their efforts to remove the threat of tyranny and wanton aggression wherever it rears its head. Help all nations of our world realize the cruelty of bloodshed and the futility of warfare. Inspire them to labor with all their might to banish conflict and strife and to establish world peace. Hasten the fulfillment of the visions of the prophets, when the work of the righteousness shall be peace, and its effect, tranquility and security forever, when nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. He who makes peace on high, may he bring peace upon us and upon all of humanity. And let us say amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi Blake. Would you please stand? And under the direction of Stephen Scott, for 26 years as a band director at Wellesley High School, we'll hear the national anthem played by the Wellesley High School Band. Veterans render hand salute, everyone else uncover.
Set. Go.
I'd like to call forward Tori DeFazio, United States Navy veteran, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Present arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Present arms.
What? No. Order. Order arms. I'd like to call your attention to the memorial wreath which is going to be placed before the honor roll of veterans as a token of our enduring memory of members of the Wellesley American Legion Post. It will be posted by Army veteran John Saunders, who just celebrated his 90th birthday 2 days ago, and United States Marine Corps veteran Pete Jones. I'd like to call forward now United States Marine Corps veteran Pete Jones, who will be describing the POW, Prisoner of War and Missing in Action flag, the black flag which will be placed on a chair by veterans John Saunders and Ken Johnson of the United States Navy. Pete.
Thank you, Roy. The Prisoner of War and Missing in Action flag is present within every veterans organization during their meetings and at today's ceremony. It's draped upon the empty chair in memory of those who left on a mission and did not return. As of November 8th, 2022, more than 81,800 Americans are still unaccounted for. 72,550 from World War II, 7,580 from Korea, 120 from the Cold War, 1,581 from Vietnam, and 3 from the Gulf War. These courageous Americans who dedicated their lives to preserving and protecting our freedoms will never be forgotten by us. Those who have served and those currently serving in the uniformed services of the United States are forever mindful that the sweetness of enduring peace has always been tainted by the bitterness of personal sacrifice. We are compelled to never forget that while we enjoy our daily pleasures, there are others who have endured and still be enduring the agonies of pain, deprivation, and internment. The Prisoner of War and Missing in Action flag reminds us to continue to pledge our full accountability for all those who have not returned. The American flag reminds us that many may never return, and they have paid the supreme sacrifice to ensure our freedom.
Thank you, Pete. I'd like to now call forward for the presentation of the Governor's Proclamation for Memorial Day, and to make some remarks, State Representative Alice Peisch. Alice?
Thank you, Roy, and thank you for once again putting together this Memorial Day observance. I'd also like to acknowledge all of you who have taken the time to come out this evening to acknowledge. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'd also like to take the time to acknowledge and thank all of you who have taken the time this evening to come out and honor those who gave their lives so that we could all enjoy our freedoms here in this country. And I would particularly like to acknowledge the Wellesley High School Band and its director for their performance this evening, and I know that they do this every year and do a remarkable job, so thank you. I am now going to read the proclamation from the Governor. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, a proclamation. Whereas, while the nation was still recovering from the horrors of the Civil War, people in cities and towns across the country gathered to honor those Union and Confederate soldiers who had given their lives, celebrating the first Decoration Day. And whereas after World War I, the nation came together again to honor those who had fallen in the service of their country, renamed Memorial Day, it is when people remember and honor the memory of all the men and women who fought and died in all American wars and conflicts. And whereas throughout our country's history, thousands of Massachusetts citizens have fought in wars and conflicts to defend our safety and way of life, and whereas their legacy of patriotism and dedication to country is an inspiration to all Americans, and whereas it is appropriate that all Massachusetts citizens remember the bravery of those who gave their lives so that their sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. Where it is appropriate, now, I therefore, Maura T. Healey, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim May 29, 2023 to be Memorial Day, and urge all the citizens of the Commonwealth to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance. Given at the Executive Chamber in Boston this first day of May in the year 2023, and the independence of the United States of America, 246th, by Her Excellency Maura T. Healey, also signed by Lieutenant Governor Kimberly Driscoll and Secretary of the Commonwealth Francis Galvin. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. I'd like to call forward now John Saunders to read those members of our community who were killed in action or died in service over the years of all wars fought by this country. John Saunders. Right behind you. You all set?
Revolutionary War, 1775-1783, Amos Mills. Civil War, 1881-1865, John Charles Blyler, Moses H. Bullard, Henry A. Fuller, William B. Fuller, Willard Huntington, Cornelius Kennedy, William H. Kingsbury, Charles R. Severance, Frank E. Severance, Frederick J. Simpson, Cornelius D. Smith, Eldridge Stevens. Spanish-American War, 1888-1898, Thomas Burnett. First World War, 1917-1918, Texas Burton, James O. Glencross, James J. Hickey, E. Temple Ingraham, Raymond J. Moore, Patrick V. O'Donoghue. Second World War, 1941-1945, Paul H. Belfado, Harry W. Blaisdell, Walter E. Blood, Frank Stewart Briggs, Henry W. Bronzentager, E. Richard Cowell, Charles E. Chapman, Robert B. Cleveland, Robert G. Davis, George R. Derra, Lewis L. Evans, Jr., Edward M. Fairfield, John J. Fitzpatrick, Edward H. Gilson, Edward H. Gleason, Jr., Charlton W. Griswold, Michael J. Huckenworth, Harris S. Haywood, Herbert W. Howard, Jr., Joseph Indesano, Everett F. Istis, Philip A. Justice, John A. Kelly, Joseph P. Kelly, brothers, Robert E. Kingsley, John S. Marr, John C. Martin, Richard A. Martin, Robert F. McEwen, Edward W. McGowan, Raina A. Mickelson, Richard M. Miller, Edward A. Nahas, Clifford P. Oliver, Jr., George W. Pocock, Jerome P. Rizzo, Edward J. Robbins, Robert N. Rockshell, Stephen J. Rogers, Jr., Vincent P. Rogers, John L. Scott, Arthur R. Scahill, Edward V. Scahill, Robert L. Steves, John L. Sullivan, Joseph Tatari, Whittier H. Thompson, Robert W. Tompkins, Thomas J. Cheers, Jr., Francis E. Weddick, David B. Whedon, Carlton M. Westhaver, Donald M. Westhaver, John M. Westhaver, father and two sons. Julian R. Whitman. Korean War, 1950, 1953, Herbert W. Balboni. Vietnam War, 1984, 1976, Eugene T. Daly, Jr., Thomas B. Flood, Dana Stanley Frost, David G. Olette, Medal of Honor winner. And active duty deaths from our citizens, Frank T. Burke, R. Dayton Brown, David Burton, Francis M. Cummings, John McCarran, Howard Arthur Quigley, James M. Rogers, David Shaken, John J. Scahill. And September 1st, 2001, when the planes hit the towers in New York, John Cahill, Nellie Casey, Edmund Glazer, Patrick Quigley.
I'd like to introduce, for the purpose of reading a poem, and possibly two, Army veteran Lorelei King.
Hello. Usually I read Please Remember Me.
Hold the mic up.
Okay. Usually I read Please Remember Me, which is the perfect poem for today, but I've read it for 25 years, so I decided to change it up this time, and I'm reading two short poems. The first one is The Unknown Soldier by Lenore Hetrick. If I stood by the tomb of a soldier, if I stood by the tomb of a soldier, I would say, sleep well today. All the nations on earth, this sacred hour, deep honor to you will pay. That's okay. You went to meet death's hour, but we know you did not pale or falter. We know you did not cower. Here in your solitary grandeur, you sleep this Memorial Day. You will not hear the eulogies, the words of praise we say, but the deepest honor a man can have is yours eternally. Not for conquest, but for principle. To your death you cross the sea. Sleep well, soldier. Nations kneel at your feet. Under the cold, dark skies, may your slumber be long and sweet. Now my second very short poem, which is a little more uplifting, the Memorial Day Hymn for Fallen Soldiers by Michael Birch. Sound the awesome cannons, pin medals to each breast. Attention, honor guard, give them a hero's rest. Recite their names to the heavens, till the stars acknowledge their kin. Then let the land they defended gather them in again. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorelei. I'd like to call forward now select person Beth Sullivan Woods to present from the Board of Selectmen, as I call it, the Select Board today, the two War Memorial Scholarships to graduating Wellesley High School students. Beth Sullivan Woods.
Thank you, Roy. Good evening, and thank you all for coming out. I'm honored to be with you tonight to present the War Memorial Scholarship on behalf of the Wellesley Select Board. And we are all here tonight, Chair Lisa Olney, Vice Chair Tom Oldfelder, Ann-Mar Alonso, whose voice you just heard, and Colette O'Franc. The town of Wellesley established the War Memorial Scholarship by special legislative action in 1951 after World War II, with the express goal of reminding children and coming generations of the great sacrifices required by citizens should they again be called to go to war. The Wellesley War Memorial Scholarships have been awarded annually by the Select Board to graduating high school seniors who have an interest in the military or who have relatives who are or were veterans. The scholarships, as you may know, are supported each year by memorial bibs that we receive from the Boston Marathon, and we are really graced by having residents raise their hand and agree to fundraise and run each year. And I believe this year our two runners raised a little over $10,000 to support that endowment. So with that, it is my pleasure to recognize the 2023 War Memorial Scholars and ask them to come up so you can all see them, Louis Cavalerano and Casey Zides. Their families are also here tonight. Both of these young men credit their great-grandfathers, who were both World War II veterans, for sparking their interest in the military. And we'll start with Louis. So Louis, raise your hand so they can all see you. So Louis is dedicated to community service. Every year he honors the service of his two great-grandfathers in World War II by carefully replacing American flags on the gravestones of veterans along with his family. Over the past decade, Louis and his family have also fostered and trained 8 service dogs for the National Education for Assistance Dog Services. At Wellesley High, Louis played on the varsity lacrosse team, and he shared his skills and passion for the game as a coach for Wellesley Youth Lacrosse. His favorite high school class was personal finance and investments, and when he moves on to Bryant University this fall, he plans to study business with an eye toward a career in marketing, investments, or consulting. So congratulations, Louis. And congratulations to your family. Now Casey, give him a wave. So Casey has many fond memories of his great-grandfather who enlisted and served in World War II. Casey's great-grandfather is a familiar name to many of us, Alfred Giuliani, who was born and raised in Wellesley and was drafted into the Army and lived in the General's area of town on MacArthur Road. This fall, Casey will attend Syracuse University, where he plans to volunteer with a veteran service organization. Casey is a committed athlete, and he has dedicated many years to playing and coaching baseball as well as other sports. He has been engaged in youth and philanthropy, and his interest in media classes led him to join the Television and Video Club at Wellesley High School. At Syracuse, Casey will combine his interests in sports, video production, and information management at the School of Information Studies. Congratulations, Casey, and congratulations to your family.
Thank you, Beth. Congratulations, fellas.
Thank you.
I'd like to now introduce to you our guest speaker of the evening, a gentleman who has just come to Wellesley. He is the Assistant Veteran Service Officer at Town Hall, so you're going to have a chance to see what we have. And I'd like to read just a short biographical sketch of T.J. Tedeschi. T.J. is a career Marine Corps officer, having spent 21 years on active duty, retiring as a Mustang Major. That means he went in as an enlisted man and he came out as an officer. In 1992, he enlisted in Boston and spent nearly a decade as an enlisted Marine, attaining the rank of Staff Sergeant. Enlisted career involved parachute rigging in Japan, instructor inspector duties with the Reserve Flight Detachment in New York, and lastly as a helicopter air crewman with the Presidential Helicopter Squadron, Marine Helicopter Squadron 1, under Presidents Clinton and Presidents Bush. In 2001, TJ was recommended for a meritorious commission to become an officer by the Assistant Commandant of the Marine Corps, General Richard Neal, who happened to be from the Boston area, and commissioned was TJ as a second lieutenant in 2002. Remaining in the aviation community, he served with the Patriots, Black Knights, and Aviation Combat Element of the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit, and it was during these early years as the lieutenant that he served in roughly 12 countries throughout the Middle East. In Afghanistan, he commanded a coalition four-man close protection team executing 200 missions and over 5,000 miles of movements during his 22-week deployment there. TJ's last assignment was with the 2nd Marine Aircraft Ring, where he assisted in overseeing global logistic operations for 42 squadrons comprised of 15,000 Marines and sailors. TJ graduated from the Expeditionary Warfare School and earned 2 graduate degrees. His maritime experience aboard 3 naval vessels served in Africa, Central and East Asia, Europe, and the Middle East, to include Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom. His personal decorations include the Naval Aircrew Wings, Presidential Service Badge, awarded by President Clinton, a Bronze Star Medal, Meritorious Service Medal, Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal, and the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal. And he is the proud father of 22-year-old sons, Scott and Ryan. Our speaker of the evening, T.J. Tedeschi, retired Major, United States Marine Corps.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's an incredible opportunity to be here this evening in front of you and to serve as a veteran service officer for the West Suburban Veterans District, comprised of these 5 towns. So I was asked to do this months ago, and of course I said yes. So for months I've been writing my speech over and over again, and then it dawned on me what I always told my Marines or my students at Norwich University: write from your heart, because it's always right. So I grew up just wanting to be a Marine. When I joined the Fleet Marine Corps, that was the identity I both wanted and needed to feel fulfilled. I made the decision to join when I was 6 years old. It was as clear as hearing my name in a crowded room. It came from nowhere, but it was everywhere. My family, they don't know where they got me from. They served in the Navy, Army Air Corps, and Army. I really tried hard in my Marine Corps career. I went through 13 weeks of Paris Island and 4 weeks of Marine combat training, and then training for my job as a parachute rigger. As an officer, I went through 10 weeks of officer candidate school and 26 weeks of the basic school. I was yelled at a lot, and then I yelled a lot. The basic school is essentially a finishing school. The Marine Corps is the only branch with it. When you graduate officer candidate school, you have earned the right to be a Marine lieutenant. But when you graduate the basic school, you've earned the right to lead Marines. There, you learn how to effectively win a war by leading Marines into it. Every Marine is a rifleman, and every Marine Corps officer, regardless of your job, can command an infantry platoon into battle. Afghanistan was my opportunity to do that. The interesting difference between an enlisted and an officer is an enlisted man can pick their job, whereas an officer, you're evaluated over 26 weeks, and then you're given 1 of 24 jobs. You're assigned that job, and they come as close as they can to meeting your needs, but only if you are capable of it. Aptitude is so important. Some people's ceilings are other people's floors, even in the most elite professions. The process works. America is safer for it. The Marine Corps is more capable and lethal because of talent management. We shape and win battles because the right people are performing the right duties. So really, if you think about it, The people that have been providing our freedom don't even get an opportunity really to pick the job that they're doing. They just want to serve faithfully. They earned the title Marine and want to be a part of a proud organization. They've added honor and prestige to their family names. So a few weeks ago, my best friend retired from active duty in the Marine Corps. 23 years. His entire career, he has been at war. That's really the first time in American history. We spoke with those that we served alongside. Many people showed endless stories, laughs, and reflection. My commanding officer, Colonel Floyd McCoy, even showed. He was a retiring officer from 2006 to 2007. And you see what I just said? My colonel. In the Marine Corps, our leaders make us better. They impart knowledge on their Marines. They keep us alive. There's a general named John A. Lejeune. And on 14 August 1920, he said the following: "The relation between officers and enlisted men should in no sense be that of superior and inferior, nor that of master or servant, but rather that of teacher and scholar. In fact, it should partake the nature of relation between father and son, to the extent that officers, especially commanders, are responsible for the physical, mental, and moral welfare, as well as the discipline and military training of those men under their command. For they are serving the nation and the Marine Corps." The recognition of this responsibility on the part of officers is vital to the well-being of the Marine Corps. It is especially so for the reason that so large a proportion of men enlisting are under the age of 21, 75% of the Marine Corps, as a matter of fact. These men are in formative periods of their lives and owe it to them, to their parents, and to the nation. And when discharged from service, they should be far better men physically, mentally, morally, when they return home to towns such as Wellesley. But this time, my colonel, he said something interesting. He said it's not about the what in life. It's all about the who and the when. He understands the intangibles just like the Marine Corps does. Talent management is important when trying to achieve anything in life, peace being the most important. So today is an observation to observe. It's not a celebration. I thank the veterans who have gone before me and have given me the opportunity to live my dream. As a society, we have two choices. We can acknowledge or we can ignore. There is a large crowd here today, so I see the community of Wellesley has decided to acknowledge. I look out in the audience, and I see so much potential. I see this group of students in front of me. I see a thriving community who are raising people that will be able to accomplish any task. I see doctors and lawyers, business people, engineers, people that matter, people that provide for people, provide for their health, their wellness, and their well-being. I also see future veterans that will hear my words and will connect with them just like I did when I was 6 years old, like hearing your name in a crowded room. I see statesmen and leaders and maybe even a president of the United States because they come from communities like this. I see homemakers because that's an important job too, and we appreciate you for what you do. After all, being what we want is the freedom promised to us by those veterans who defended our freedom. As for me, you're looking at a veteran service officer. I truly am lucky because I have the who, the when, and the what. I hope you all do too. That promise of freedom started here a long time ago. And I wanted to read a few names from the West Suburban Veterans District. Possibly these names haven't been read together for some time. Having 5 towns and having their DD 214s and having historical records to look through, I looked at World War I. I looked at the Crummett family, Chester and Leon. Think about that, World War I. How did they get to the war? What did they leave behind? These communities were just starting. I look at the Durvan family, Dennis, Edward, and Patrick. I look at the Lenahans, Charles, Francis, Harry, Richard, World War II. I look at the Andersons, Clarence, Elsie, Eric, Harvey, James, John, Robert, Samuel, and Thomas. They were missed at home. World War I and World War II. Leon V. Delator. He fought in both of those. He was from this area. He walked these streets. Korea, the Carr family sent 4 people. Korea, Henderson, the Henderson family, Allen, James, John, Munson, Gordon, Harlow, and Harthon. There was even an Edward Tedeschi, my surname. Vietnam, the Allens, Randall, Richard, Langdon, Robert, Ronald. Korea and Vietnam, John Henderson fought in both of those. The Murphys, James, Robert A., Robert M., and William. We can even go back to the War of American Independence, the Revolutionary War, 1775 to 1783. We had the Bakers. We have El Fatat, Jr. and Sr., Jeremiah, Joseph, Nathaniel, Samuel, Timothy Jr. and Sr. There were 14 Colbums, James, David, Ichabod, Isaac, John, and John Jr., Jonathan, Lewis, Nathan, Samuel, Simeon, Thomas, and Timothy. There's even a family with the surname Gay, and they put 13 people forward. Joseph, Josiah, Samuel, William, Daniel, Ebenezer, Ezra, Henry, Ichabod, John, Moses, Seth, and Theodore. These people made our country great. Oh, and Moses, he was in the War of 1812 as well, and he brought his brother, Willard. So speaking from the heart, yesterday I read a lot of notes that came to me, and one was from a Navy SEAL, and his name is Jocko Willink, and this touched me, and I want you to hear it. Just checking in. Looks like some of the boys have come by today to your grave. Lots of flowers. Did you ever think you'd be getting a bunch of flowers from guys in our platoon? I sure didn't. But here you go. They'll look good for a while anyway. Then they'll wilt and brown. Then the gravekeeper will take them away. Nothing stays forever. I wish you could have stayed a little longer, though. I really like to see you smile again and hear you laugh. Your laugh made other people laugh, me included. A little joy in the world, joy that is now gone, and I miss that. But the world moves on, and time stops for no man. Look at me, gray hair, wrinkled skin. I will not squander a moment, not a breath, not a sunset, not a laugh. I will live to honor the gift you have given me, freedom. I'm the old guy we used to laugh about, who's laughing now. Even my kids are grown up. They aren't kids anymore, and you'd be proud. Time goes by quickly. You taught me that. You taught me so much. I was angry at first. Angry at you, angry at myself, and angry at the world. I couldn't understand why. Why you? Why were you taken from this world? Taken from me. My anger grew. But it was all for me. Selfish. Eventually, the anger consumed itself. I realized my anger was unwarranted, and over time it diminished. Instead, I became thankful. Thankful to have known you. Thankful to have spent time with you. Thankful to have served alongside you. Thankful for you to call you a brother and a friend. Thankful for this life that you have given me. You won't grow old, so I can. Your dreams were lost, so my dreams could be found. Your hopes were extinguished, so my hopes could be realized. Your future was cut short, so mine could flourish. In your death, you gave me life. I will live life to the fullest, and I promise. I will not squander a moment, not a breath, not a sunset, not a laugh. I will live to honor the gift you gave me, the life I owe you. I will never forget. These words resonated with me because they're powerful. Lastly, in closing, every veteran has a story. We all do. We all do. We come in all shapes and sizes. We serve everywhere, every clime and place. And everyone's service is different. There are fighters and there are warriors in the cemeteries here in Wellesley. They came back better citizens, just like John Lejeune said. Learn their stories, because it will only help you write yours. Enthusiasm, family, country, freedom, and victory, honor, courage, and commitment, those are the defining characteristics of service, no matter what you pick in life. At least they are for me. Thank you for listening to my words, my thoughts. God bless you and God bless America.
Thank you, TJ. Words well said. I'd like to call forward now, United States Navy veteran Ken Johnson to read Decoration Day by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow.
Decoration Day by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Sleep, comrades, sleep and rest on this field of the grounded arms, where foes no more molest, nor sentries shot alarms. Ye have slept on the ground before, and started to your feet at the cannon's sudden roar, or the drum's redoubling beat. But in this camp of death, no sound your slumber breaks. Here is no fevered breath, no wound that bleeds and aches. All is repose and peace, untrampled lies the sod. The shouts of battle cease, is a truce of God. Rest, comrades, rest and sleep. The thoughts of men shall be as the sentinels to keep your rest from danger free. Your silent tents of green, with decks of fragrant flowers, yours has the suffering been, the memory shall be ours.
Thank you, Ken. I would like to now read the list of those veterans from Wellesley or have lived in Wellesley or who grew up in Wellesley who've passed on since last Memorial Day. The list is 45 members long. William Dempsey, Navy. Porter Brooks, Marine Corps. George Dummer, Navy. Eugene Giroux, Army. Vincentine Mafucci, Marine Corps. Paul Corcoran, Marine Corps. Kenneth Cook, Air Force. Alvin Katz, Army. Paul Kernaklian, Air Force. Frederick Pfannenstiel, Navy. Arthur Jones, Navy. Anthony Duchatti, Army. Gary Woods, Marine Corps. Elliot Sherman, Army. Louis Ronchetti, Air Force. Paul McDonald, Marine Corps. Robert Sagan, Army National Guard. James Elliott, Army. James Kiley, Army. Willard Honeywell, the oldest veteran in Wellesley, United States Navy. Harvey Rasmussen, Navy. Robert Murphy, Navy. Dan Bowie, Navy. Wallace Stimson, Navy. Dennis Looney, Navy. Gregory Knopf, Army. Richard Armstrong, Army. Robert McGuire, Army Reserves. Henry Petrilli, Army. Richard Howard, Army. Paul Yell, Navy. John Nagel, Army. John Bezanson, Army. Gordon Kingsley, Army. Francis Angino, Army. Frederick Weir, Air Force. Donald Kelly, Army. Eugene Darling, Army. William Crozier, Army. Gilbert Stubbs, Army. Victor Resmini, Navy. Luke Griffin Sr., Navy. Francis Roy, Navy. Rabbi Harold Kushner, Army Chaplain. Riflemen, salute the dead. Taps. Order. Arms. We now hear the Wellesley High School Band play America the Beautiful by Wellesley resident Catherine Lee Bates. Steve Scott and the Wellesley High School Band. Thank the Wellesley High School Band. Order. Arms. And thank Ann Mara Lanza for leading our songs tonight, member of the Select Board. I'd like to now call forward Rabbi Blake for the benediction.
O God and God of our fathers, great mighty and revered. God, we come before you today to commemorate Memorial Day, today in which our nation recognizes a debt we could never hope to repay to those who gave all for our freedoms and our safety. God, we thank you for the historic blessings we have in our lives, and we ask that you bless those who died for these freedoms and that you shield their families beneath the wing of your kindness and spread over them your canopy of peace. A few months ago, I returned from a humanitarian trip to Ukraine where I saw the horrors of war firsthand. As an American, I've never had to see those horrors on these shores. And I know it is because of the sacrifice of young men and women, the American service people, who travel distant shores and stand strong in defense of our democracy. God, we ask you to strengthen these defenders, grant them success, and crown them in victory, and to allow the freedoms and values that so many have given their lives for to flourish in their honor and for the betterment of your people. I ask everyone assembled to join me in a moment of silence for our fallen heroes. God, I ask you to bless us as we come together on this special occasion. May we soon see a time where no violence or war takes place. As the prophet promises, we will beat our swords into plowshares, maybe speedily in our days. Amen.
Take it away, Blake. Cover. My name is Roy Switzler. I'm the member of the Celebrations Committee. But what I'd like to do is thank the many people who have worked to make this affair tonight a reality. Particularly, I'd like to thank all the dignitaries who've been here. The select board is here, and all members were mentioned earlier by Beth Sullivan Woods, who took the time out of their busy schedules to attend our services, including State Representative Alice Peisch, the Wellesley High School Band and its director, Steve Scott, of 26 years, the Wellesley Police Department, Chief Jack Pilecki, Deputy Chief Scott Whittemore, and the police officers for their participation in traffic control. The Wellesley Police Department Color Guard, led by Officer Chris Fritz. The Wellesley Fire Department, Interim Chief Nat Brady, and the firefighters who are here tonight. The Wellesley Fire Department Color Guard, led by Benjamin Hampton. We appreciate that. The Wellesley Media and its director, James Joyce, directly in front of me. The Swelser Report and the Brown family. Thank the Friends of Wellesley Veterans for the support they have been providing for veterans events, including the Fall Breakfast for Veterans Day and the recently completed 55th Annual Veterans Parade done last week. Citizens of Wellesley, organized by Pete and Joanne Jones and Chris Cavallaro, with the Friends of Wellesley Veterans for their placing flags at the cemeteries and monuments throughout Wellesley. There are over 2,500 flags that have been placed out there for today's date, Memorial Day. Thank you to all veterans who participated in ceremonies here, including our guest speaker and new member of the Veteran Service Office, T.J. Tedeschi. And finally, a warm thank you to every citizen who attended our services this evening. But I'd like to add one more. Person who put together this program primarily is a member of the Select Board, Beth Sullivan Woods. I thank her for her efforts and what she's done to make this a reality. Thank you all. Tonight's affair is concluded.